Hello, my name is Nathaniel Adams. I'm an intern at the Center for the Study of Tennesseans and War, where we like to research, preserve, and share the stories of Tennessee veterans. Today I'll be interviewing Nathaniel Boring. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Nathaniel Boring. I was born and raised in Ridgecrest, California. I am also a student and intern here at the Tennessee Institute of War.
So how long have you lived in Tennessee?
Collectively, probably about 8 years now. So I was stationed in Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell's right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. I lived on the Tennessee side, so I kind of count that time. But I've moved to be a permanent resident in Knoxville in 2021.
Okay. So, and how long have you been a student at UT?
This is my second semester, so a year.
Okay. You said you're from California. How long did you live in California?
For about 20 years. I lived in California, so I was born and raised California, the southern part, the better part.
Yeah.
So,
do you miss it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Ever thought about going back?
Yes, I definitely think about going back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what was life in California like?
My life in California was actually pretty awesome. There was a lot of outdoors. I lived in the middle of nowhere. If you look at Ridgecrest, California on a map, it's dead center in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So hiking, shooting guns, riding motorcycles. There's all kinds of stuff out there. There's petroglyphs that aren't on maps that only the locals know about. So there's a lot of fun little things you can actually do.
It's interesting to hear people say good things about the Mojave. Usually when soldiers talk about the Mojave, they talk about NTC, or the National Training Center, and how terrible of experience that normally is.
Yeah, and NTC is not for the weak. It's very hot, a lot of chafing, a lot of sweat, and you have to stop if there's a tortoise.
Yeah.
You got to stop for those guys.
Yeah, lack of bathrooms.
Yes.
So when did you decide to join the military?
I'm fourth generation service, so it goes all the way back. I think we had family in the Civil War. When I really decided to join the Army is when my life was absolutely going nowhere after high school. I was truant in school. I was horrible. I failed like every class. Like standard state of California that just passed me through to graduation, and then I found myself on the other side of high school not knowing what to do, no direction in life, no funding, no nothing. So I joined the Army. The best decision I've made in my life, but obviously comes like there's pros and cons to it. It's like, I'm 31 years old now and my back feels like I'm in my 60s. So.
What was your job in the Army?
I was an 11 Bravo, which is an infantryman. I had multiple positions throughout my almost 7 years of service, ranging from M240 machine gunner to saw gunner, team leader, and then eventually to weapons squad leader in my time in Germany. So,
you prefer the 240 or the saw?
Depends. But the 240 will never leave you.
That's true.
Your wife could leave you, but the 240 won't.
240 is my favorite weapon system. So how long were you at each of those positions?
I was a saw gunner for most of my time at Fort Campbell. I was in the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 126 Infantry, Blue Spaders, Cherokee Company, 1st Platoon, 1st Squad, Alpha Team. I was the squad leader for that before I left, but as a saw gunner, I was probably about a year and a half. That was probably the longest position I held at Fort Campbell. I deployed to Iraq 2016 to 2017 as a saw gunner, and I would finish my time in Iraq as a machine gun team leader. So that's when I began my 240 time.
How was Iraq? What were operations like there, if you can talk about it?
Yeah. Operation Inherent Resolve was the operation that I was involved with, which was largely the fight against ISIS, or as it's known over there as Daesh. It was a pretty complex mission. It didn't involve direct kinetic action. We actually had no fighting force that was directly engaging ISIS. It was largely support operations ranging from training, fire support, and cordons, and then route security and sec force protection for drone bases. So it was an interesting mission. trying to think. I mean, it was pretty rough. We did a lot of casualty exchanges, which the casualties that we were receiving weren't Americans. They were largely civilians for the most part, Iraqi civilians, local nationals. And then we were either triaging them at our point of transfer and then moving them to field hospitals. So it was kind of rough because you'd see, anywhere from a 3-year-old to a 57-year-old man, and that the wounds would range from, IEDs, gunshot wounds. Shrapnel is probably the worst thing to see because it doesn't wound very clean and compared to gunshots. So that was probably the grimiest part of my deployment was dealing with casualties.
Wow. You said you were over there for about a year?
I was over there for just under 10 months. Okay. So I was Advon or Torch, I can't really remember. I was one of the first from my battalion there, which means I spent the longest time, and then I was also Trail. So I stayed longest. I got to Arif John in Kuwait last to transfer home in 2017. So it was really interesting. I think one of the biggest things that I didn't really realize, going over there so young, you just think it's Iraq, and then everyone contained with it is Iraq. And you get over there and it's, Sunni, Shia, you have Druze, you have Yazidis, you have Kurds. It's a lot more diverse than you think. So you kind of go over there pretty ignorant, honestly, and then you kind of come back a little more informed. So.
Did you spend your whole career at Fort Campbell, or?
No, I spent about 3.5 years at Fort Campbell, and then I would re-enlist to go to Germany. So I went to Rose Barracks, which is known as Vilsec, the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, and it was a horrible unit. It was a great place to be stationed. So,
what was Germany like?
Germany was amazing, except some of the German laws and our laws don't really mesh. So, there was that. But Germany was an amazing time. It was what you made it. If you traveled, it was amazing. If you stayed on base, worst place to be, because base was kind of a dump. So,
how much Germany did you get to see, or did you just kind of stay on base or near base?
Yeah, I've traveled to 38 different countries. So my time in Germany was extremely productive. I've been to almost all of Western Europe, Central Europe, and then Eastern Europe. My favorite being Eastern Europe. It's I don't know. It's a lot less explored. So.
Yeah. So did you deploy while you were with the 2CR?
The only deployment that I did was a NATO rotation to, Bambovo-Pisky Training Area, BPTA, up near the Suwalki Gap between Kaliningrad and Belarusia. At the time, NATO rotations were backwater. It wasn't really the mission that everyone wanted. It was mostly just go spend 6 months and then drink at the local bars. But as we're talking now, that mission's obviously greatly changed here in 2025. But the rotation, I didn't want to do it. I considered throwing a cinder block on my foot in the motor pool to not do it. So that's there forever. I didn't want to go. It ended up being a really good time, though. Poland is really fun. It's really fun. It's a great place to get drunk on the cheap. So, yeah.
Did you explore Poland, or did you get a chance to explore Poland like you did in Germany?
Yeah. I explored Poland quite a lot. Went to Krakow twice. One of our cultural days, we went to Auschwitz, which was very impressive on what has happened there, given obviously the Holocaust. It was, a lot of the younger soldiers, that was their first time getting out, getting exposed to, outside cultures. And then as a NCO, it was a horrible time because you're playing babysitter when you yourself are inebriated. So it's not fun. Yeah. But Poland was amazing. The people in Poland were nice. The food was good. If I had to do it all over again, I would. Lake Gaisco, go. This is me advertising for their tourism. So, yeah, it was wonderful.
So did you finish out your career in Germany with the 2CR, or did you move on from there?
Yeah, I finished my career in 2CR. The place effectively killed my career. I thought about staying in and like doing 20 years. My time at Fort Campbell was amazing. I had really good leadership. I had the best command team that you could ever ask for. Getting to Germany, 2CRs was horrible. Captain Falcaredo, if you see this, I still hate you. I finished my career there. I was ready to get out and just actually work on myself more than just senseless training missions. And then when I was getting out, it was also during COVID. So COVID, I was trying to stay in Germany. I was going to work at the PX. I was going to be that guy. But COVID gave me a 2-week notice that I had to go home. So I went back to California to piece my life together. And California wasn't really where I wanted to be. And then looking back at my time at Fort Campbell, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go back to Tennessee. So I ended up here in Knoxville, to go to school. I got the shirt to prove it, so.
How did COVID affect life on active duty? Did you start to see much effect before you got out? Did it change drastically, or was it just, it happened after you?
I think COVID affected a lot. I mean, we went from being told that we couldn't congregate in groups of more than 10 to command teams wanting missions, and we would go do those missions and there'd be 100 men in the same building, no masks, sweating on each other, coughing on each other. So there was a lot of nonsense that went on during COVID. It was what it was at the time. I think it definitely ended a lot of people's careers, and then it obviously became like super political. I seen that people not wanting vaccines. I didn't have to worry about that because I was getting my DD 214 and I could not wait to exit my time.
So Fort Campbell's in Clarksville, which is almost on the other side of the state. What brought you to Knoxville instead of Middle West Tennessee?
Well, I had family out here in Knoxville, and I had actually come here in 2014. And at the time, I was like, "Wow, this is the most laid-back city I could ever think of." And I was like, "Oh, I'd been through UT. Unfortunately, during a game day, I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was just like a sea of orange. I'm like literally just trying to get to the other side on Kingston Pike." I was like, oh man, it's actually probably kind of interesting to go to school. I was a horrible student, like I said. So I came to Tennessee, specifically Knoxville, just because the housing market was like affordable. So it's kind of what attracted me here. And then good VA care, which California does not have. And then cheaper housing, which is not necessarily the case now.
Mm-hmm.
But
so what finally made the decision for you to go back to school?
The job market is this. As an infantryman, when you get out, there's nothing for you. There's none of your training is applicable other than like leadership. You have like soft skills, but there's nothing that translates into actual work. I actually feel like when you apply for jobs and they see your background, I feel like they're like, no, that guy's not. We don't want that guy to be a bartender. So that's kind of why I came back to school. I also came back because I genuinely wanted to like try school, see if I could actually do it. And then long-term goal, I want to teach. I think that's the thing I want to do the most, preferably at the high school level. I would go down to elementary school, but middle school, those kids are like just too much. Yeah. No, thank you.
What specifically do you want to teach?
I want to teach history or geography. I would be happy with either. I would even do PE, I don't know, a little fat for that, but no, preferably history. That's what my degree's in, so.
Mm-hmm. Is there a certain part of history you're studying, or just kind of general history?
Right now, I'm in my honors history course, which is the bane of my existence sometimes, but I'm writing about Czechoslovakia, so my focus right now is Central Europe and then Eastern Europe. So
a lot of history there. And I think it's going to be super important recently with Ukraine and Russia doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Going back to Poland, and being so close to Kaliningrad, which is Russia, was there any like concern that Russia might do something?
It's all just posturing. That's all it's really ever been. The only thing that like genuinely was happening was the electronic warfare section of our deployment. They were actually tapping phone lines, interfering with communications. And then we'd have like these little pesky journalists that would come over and like try to take bad photos or like unflattering pictures of soldiers drunk on the weekend, so they could go write it in like Pravda and be like, oh look, these American soldiers, they're horrible. But personally, I don't like the day-to-day Russian person. I have like absolutely no problem with. I've ran into Russians like all throughout Europe. I know people have their opinions, but I think at the end of the day, we're all very similar. So, you know, we'll just let politicians continually kill each other. So this is great. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Would you ever consider going back?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. I did my time. It was a good learning experience, but I couldn't go back. If I had to put on a rucksack right now, I'd be the saddest camper on earth. But I do think that I think we just need to actually do more for our service members now, because recruitment's getting harder, demographic shifts are changing, our country's getting older, more is being required at younger ages, and that could be either in the military or in the civilian world. Life is just literally just getting harder for younger people. But as opposed to doing time again, I would not be a good soldier now. I was already kind of disobedient when I was in, so no, there's no way. You know, if someone told me to dig a hole, like Lieutenant Rodriguez, I'd tell him to go fuck himself. So there's that.
Well, thank you for talking to me today. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close?
Stay in school. That's
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.